What's up, everybody? Welcome back to I Came a Fire podcast. It is our friends Amanda and Dayvid from One Nothing podcast. If you guys listened to our collab before, you should know all about them. If you haven't, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And we'll give you the opportunity to
Pause
get to know
this,
them. So
go watch theirs, then come back and watch this.
Right. Perfect segue, Zach. Perfect, Zach. Perfect segue, Zach. We're just wondering why 90% of the people who listen to us aren't subscribed. So please hit the subscribe button on your way to listening to our collab episode with One Nothing. So ladies first, right? So Crumpets, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Crumpets McFuckington. No, I'm Amanda, and I'm the host of One Nothing podcast, and along with my lovely co-host with the co-most Dayvid over here. Yeah, that's what do you want to know? I'm pretty boring outside of this fun podcast where we talk about people dying a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. What's your obsession with maple syrup?
It's delicious.
Okay,
and I need no further explanation.
Absolutely not.
And for anybody wondering, we asked a question because Amanda is Canadian. So, all right, Dayvid, give us a little rundown because you have your own thing on the side too, Dayvid.
Yeah, I have a page. I am Dayvid from Down the Rabbit Hole. We have a lot of platforms out there where you can watch all of my paranormal videos. I have conspiracies. I have cryptids. I have everything you could possibly think of that's paranormal or supernatural related. I just started a YouTube channel, which is really cool. And I am the co-host of One Nothing podcast with Amanda here. And Rachel. Let's not forget Rachel.
Ooh, who's Rachel? We didn't meet her last time.
She is our other co-host, and she is fantastic.
Oh, okay. Sorry that we did not get to... Yeah, does she hate feet?
Yes.
No.
She when she can join us, she joins us. When she can't join us, she can't join us. So pretty much how it works. You know, we love her. She's fantastic. Unfortunately, she wasn't there with you guys, which was a great show, by the way. You guys were amazing. Thank you so much for showing up. I wanted to say, Brandon, fucking great job, man. I was glad you were there. And Zach, yeah. And so, you know, I'm just kidding.
Zach, you were there, bro.
You were there, brother.
I knew that was
You were physically present.
You know what? No. Everyone that's listening needs to go to the One Nothing podcast and send a picture of your feet to them ASAP.
Yes,
I love
Amanda there.
She loves feet.
Totally.
She loves it.
I would totally not enjoy that. That's a quick way to block city.
Zach is such a heel.
Keep your piggies in your socks.
No, just kidding. It was great to have both of you guys there. It was fantastic. The episode was killer. No pun intended. And thank you guys so much for joining us. It was fun.
No, thanks for coming and sitting with us, man. So I really want to keep this conversation weird since you guys have a pretty strange podcast. And Dayvid, your page, I love, man. I love seeing the stuff that you put up there because I have a real big interest in the paranormal. I think I've had like I'm a lifelong interest in the paranormal. Yeah. And last year, Zach and I, we did a whole month of Spooktober. We had a bunch of guests on who are paranormal investigators. Yeah. And so we love that kind of thing. But why did you guys, Amanda, you're kind of the founding member, right, of One Nothing. Why did you decide to do like true crime?
Just kind of the genre that I'm interested in. I really didn't listen to podcasts much, and then I started dabbling in a couple, and I got really interested in it. But I DoorDash part-time, so I'd be listening to a lot, and I'd run out quickly, and then I'd have trouble finding ones that had the content that I wanted to kind of learn about. And so then one day I figured instead of just trying to search through thousands of podcasts to find stuff that interests me, to just do it myself. And even if nobody listened, I'm still kind of learning stuff. And then Dayvid came along pretty early into it. And that's when it really clicked. Before that, it was just like something kind of fun to do. And then when Dayvid joined, it really made it like a venture. Like it became something that was just really exciting, and watching it kind of transform over the last year has been really rewarding and kind of interesting.
Are you the
Word.
type of person who like watches like true crime documentaries and then they're like, but he left his fingerprint, and you're like, that freaking idiot,
dumbass?
Yeah.
Like,
I all the
Wiping
time
the
I
Cheeto
wonder,
dust
like,
off.
if I were to kill someone, how would I get away with it? And then I'm like, it's probably not like the healthiest thing to be thinking, but it's just it keeps me occupied sometimes, like late at night
You heard it
when
here.
you're trying to sleep.
Yep.
Amanda's already thinking about killing people. So there it is.
Go in.
Yep. We got go. All right.
Non-suspicious sip of my soda.
Yeah, dude. So what's
There's always that. There's always that argument about nature versus nurture. You've heard about that, right?
Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
anyone who kills, was it because they were nurtured that way because their home life was horrible, or is it nature? And my approach to that has always been that it's not one or the other. I think when you're talking about nature, every single human being on Earth is capable of murdering somebody. That's just that's the nature of it, right? Nurture is a whole other thing because you can have, let's say, I don't know, Kemper. You know,
dude,
Kemper.
I was literally thinking about Ed Kemper.
Really? Okay,
yes,
so
he lives like 40 minutes from me.
Wow, he's one of the most fascinating ones. But the reason I bring him up is because how he was raised. He was raised in a horrible environment, right?
Yep.
So he did have the nature, he had the nurture, and then he did what he did. But you're going to find a lot of people who are going to have the same kind of environment, or their the nurture part is going to be the same, but they're not killing. So how do you explain those people? You know what I'm saying? There's a big gap.
What it is, man, I think you're spot on. I think it's just like this compilation of stuff that happens in the right order, and whatever that right order is for that person. Right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so Ed Kemper is in the Vacaville like penitentiary or whatever. So he's not that far from me. And but I was thinking about him because of what you said. He killed his grandmother and his grandfather as a kid.
Right.
Grew up this super fucked up life. And the reason why he killed his grandmother, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dayvid, is because he found out that wasn't she unfaithful to her grandfather and she kind of treated him like shit? Wasn't that the
might have been? I can't remember the exact details on that. But he did shoot her, right, with a rifle or something like this.
It was a shotgun, right? And so he killed her while his grandfather was out working on the family farm, and he only killed his grandfather because he didn't want him to see her like that. This is his entire impetus, of killing his grandpa. And then later in life, everybody knows him as the co-ed killer because he was living with his mom, and then was going and kidnapping and raping and murdering these young college students, and then eventually killed his mom and cut her head off and all this stuff. And that what's that show, Mindhunters, right? They did a really good job. Yeah, they did a really good job.
I remember reading the book Mindhunter, and it was from an actual FBI agent that worked in the behavioral unit. He's actually the guy who started it all. When I grew up, I wanted to be an FBI agent working for the behavioral unit. That was a very, very interesting thing that I wanted to be a part of. And I remember reading that book. And then when they made the show is, how do you explain it? It's the characters that are in it are fictional characters, right? They're based on the actual people, but they have different names.
Yeah.
But Kemper and all the killers, they're real, and everything that they went through.
Right.
It was here that Kemper said that he just wanted to see what it felt like to kill his grandma, and testified that he killed his grandfather so his grandpa wouldn't have to find out that his wife was dead, because he would be angry and he didn't want to upset his grandfather.
So fucked up.
Okay, see, I thought there was more to it than why.
The reason why he shot.
Think about the thinking behind that, though. The thinking behind it is insane, man.
Yeah.
It's like no reasoning.
He shot his
skills
grandmother at the age of 15. They got into an argument over him shooting birds. He was shooting birds with a rifle.
Damn straight, I'd be fucking him up too. Don't shoot no birds.
He apparently got mad and was like, "I'll show you what I shoot with the rifle," and just went and got and shot her in the head, and then stabbed her several times afterwards, after she was already dead.
See, he had a lot of issues with women. You know what I mean? So there had to be something that made him snap at that point. But the other thing that I always thought was super interesting about him is the way he turned himself in, because he went on the run and then basically just decided, I'm sick and tired of this, and went and turned himself in. and then is like a model citizen in prison and will tell people, no, I should not be paroled, I should not be let out because I'll just keep doing this. So he's aware, you know. It's like that question of like, are people who are crazy aware that they're crazy? But like Ed Kemper is aware that if he gets let out of prison, he's just going to keep killing people. You know what I mean?
He knows what demons are in him.
Right. So it's kind of crazy at the same time, like to know that like I'm going to go out and keep murdering people. So I'm just going to be here and this is my life and I'm totally chill with it. And, you know, no, I don't want to be paroled. I don't want to be out in the middle of society anymore. I don't know. Something really kind of creepy, but fascinating at the same time.
I'll say this. He was friends with cops.
Right.
Of course
he would go to a bar where a lot of cops would hang out.
That's right.
And he would befriend them and they would just have great conversations and they thought, man, this guy is really interesting. And then when he turned himself in and they realized who it was the entire time, they were just
mind blown.
Blew them away.
Literally.
Guy's a genius.
Maybe. I mean, getting close with him and they'll never see it coming.
Yeah. No. So Dayvid, what made you want to start like down the rabbit hole? Because I like what you do. It's there's a lot to it. It's not just like supernatural. You know what I mean? There's a lot of elements to it. You know, it's just like obviously like looking behind you, you have a fascination with this stuff, you know? But like where did this start for you as a kid? Did you have a bunch of experiences or were you just genuinely curious?
I did. I had since I was about a year and a half, I had an experience. My parents had moved into this house in Corpus Christi, Texas, on Casper Street, of all
ironic
fucking streets. And this house, my dad was actually looking for a place to rent before they moved into the house that they were having built. And so he was a mailman, so he was doing the route on this street. He saw there was one for rent, and he was asking the neighbor, "Hey, do you think this is good to rent for a while? You think it's all right?" And the guy told him, "Dude, whatever you do not rent this house, okay? There was a gypsy that lived in this house. She put a curse on me. You know, she tried to get her daughters with my son. Listen, don't do it, dude. Ever since I've known this lady, I lost my job. I've lost my wife. I'm about to lose my house. Don't move in there." And my dad was like, "Whoa. Yeah, right. No, I'm moving in. I'm moving in. I don't give a fuck. I need a place to stay for a year, so fuck it."
Like, do you know what I deal with as a mailman?
Dogs,
I'm moving in, dog. Literally, yeah.
So apparently, this gypsy was a dark witch type of lady. She could do curses and all this. Apparently, she had buried some stuff in the front yard in 4 corners, and it's so weird that my mom would tell me in my bedroom while I was trying to go to sleep. They would be awakened by me screaming my head off at one end of the bed, looking at the other end at something that I can only see, they couldn't see.
Like that.
And my dad would be like, "Hey, man, he's got to get used to that. Leave him in there." But my mom would be like, no, he's got to sleep with us.
Leave him
There's
in
something
there.
not right about this house.
Yeah, night terrors are fine, dude. He'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, my dad, he's a Vietnam veteran. And so he, he had some very serious PTSD at the time because he had just came back, and he would drink heavily. I'm just going to say it. You know, he was a heavy drinker. He remembers coming home one night pretty late, and he was walking up to the door, and there's a tree kind of near the house, and he heard like someone whistle. And so when he looked to see what was whistling, he saw a lady, like a full-grown lady in a tree, whistling at him.
Dude.
My dad is a guy who does not believe in anything. He doesn't believe in ghosts. He doesn't believe in aliens. He doesn't like to watch those movies. For him to say that he saw a lady in a tree whistling at him doing this business. Something. Yeah, he's not. He don't fuck around with this stuff, man. He's not.
That's like if Zach told me he saw something. That would be like the same thing for me. Yeah.
Cool.
No, for real.
That's weird.
Yeah, I get that. I totally understand. That's what my dad is. He does not like that stuff. For him to say that, I was like, okay, well, he saw something. A freaking witch in the tree. Okay, great. So he went around the other way, went into the house. It changed him, you know.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I mean,
he started wearing fishnets under his pants.
No. we moved out of that house because they were going to get divorced if they stayed in that house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next house, we lived near the naval base, pretty close, and I started this fascination with aliens. Man, it was my favorite thing. I would watch reruns of Project Blue Book.
Yeah,
you know, I definitely want to see one. You know, we would always have jets flying around at night, and I would always think aliens, and it would freak me out. But yeah, that's basically where it comes from. I mean, since I was a kid,
yeah,
fascinated with it.
Here's what the first thing was.
What do you mean?
Zach did this.
You never seen this? The aliens guy? You never seen it? I'll find it.
Yeah,
I got you. I got
with
you.
the hair.
Yeah.
It's not ringing a bell.
Oh, I know who you're talking about from the History Channel.
Yeah, I got you.
The dude with the Greek
the
last
History
name.
Channel. I'm not going to understand that reference.
What?
Dude,
you don't watch the History
Channel?
No, I'm not 75.
What?
Of course, I don't watch the History Channel. Jesus Christ.
It's okay. I can't
History
think
Channel
of a reason why. Well, I can't think of a reason why Canada would need a History Channel. So
it's true. That's true. There's nothing going on up there.
The majority of my television experience has been here. I just can't understand, I want to relax and zone out of reality. You know, it would be great to watch the Civil War. Like, no.
Yeah. Right. No, it's okay.
The first one or the second one?
An America's hat.
The History Channel by day is like actual history, but the History Channel by night, it's all about the aliens.
See? Yeah, baby.
There it is.
Oh, I've seen that meme. Okay.
Yes. How could I think Zach, at first was just kind of awkward. We're like, what's going on?
Well, I was just thinking he's really excited and was fondling or something. It was kind of make sense of it.
The guy looks like he got slimed by an alien and just kind of, did that.
He isn't it?
No, so my whole life as well, David, weird things. Even my mom is clairaudient, right? So she can hear stuff. And she has kind of our whole existence. We've always had, that sort of relationship. But one of the things that you said that made me think of an experience we had when I was living in England. And I think I've said this on the podcast before, but I'll just tell it again for you guys, is my family moved to England. My mom really, really wanted to get a house on the economy. And we ended up going and talking to this couple. They're an American couple. And I noticed when we were walking around the house that there were these like St. Benedict or St. Michael coins sitting in all the windows. And so I just asked, I said, hey, what's up with all the coins? Knowing, right, this is like some sort of protection thing. And the lady looks at me, I remember her name is April, and she goes, well, we just had the house blessed because we were having some things going on.
Oh,
and,
shit.
So I looked at my mom because her and I are kind of like that. And I was like, surely this is not the house we're about to live in, because I'm not trying to move into a house that just had to be blessed because of some evil shit that just happened. But that's exactly what happened is we moved into this house. Okay. And so the first day we move in, I'd already graduated. This is a year after I graduated high school. My parents let me live with them for a year because I found out they were moving to England and wanted to go. And my mom and I are unpacking boxes in the kitchen, and then we hear something walking up the stairs. No one else is home but her and I. My brother and sister at school, my dad's at work, the dog is in quarantine, all this shit. And we walk out into the foyer and just listen to something go up the stairs. And that happened all the time, the footsteps. But I had probably the most creepy experiences of my life in that house in that 1 year. I saw black shadows. I had the most sleep paralysis I ever had in my life in that house. One of the experiences I had with the sleep paralysis, I actually woke up and was hearing like radio static. It sounded like an AM radio station. And I heard this super loud crashing noise. And the first thought I had was somebody had just kicked down the front door. And in England, a lot of houses don't have doorknobs. They just have a lock that's spring loaded. So when you unlock the door, it kicks the door open. It's just some stupid thing about how there used to be a doorknob tax in England. So I say that to say that when you walk into the house, there's another door. There's like a small mudroom. And that door on the inside of the house leading into the foyer has a handle, right? And I heard this loud crash. And I tried to like get up to get out of my room and look over the top of the stairs and to see if somebody was coming into the house. But I realized I couldn't move because I had sleep paralysis going on. I even remember thinking, what a fucking great goddamn time to have sleep paralysis, right?
Convenient.
And right. And then I heard another crash. Like it sounded like another huge, like somebody kicked down the next door. And I remember thinking that's really weird because in my brain, like I processed that there's a handle, there's no lock. Why kick the second door down, you know?
Yeah.
And
right.
Anyway, I was able to eventually get up, but not before I had this immense like feeling of fear that wasn't from somebody breaking into the house, right? It felt like somebody was standing over me. It felt like this was like a heavy presence, right? And when it stopped, the radio static stopped. There was like, it sounded like somebody was talking through the radio static at me. It all stopped and it was dead quiet. I got up out of bed. Everything was as it should be at, you know, whatever time in the wee hours in the morning it was. And I did not go to bed. I went to bed with the light on and didn't fall asleep, right? Because it just was terrifying. But I had probably a dozen experiences similar to that the time and that I lived there. And then my brother and sister and my mom and dad lived there for the next couple of years. And they all had weird experiences like that. But I actually ran into April when I worked at the gas station on base. And I asked her, I was like, yo, what the fuck happened at this house? Because dude, shit happens to us. Like whatever you guys did not work, right? And she said essentially the first thing that started happening was similar to you, Dayvid, where her son, who was a toddler, started having these terrifying experiences at night. And he was telling her that an old woman was watching her in the corner of his room. And she just kind of took it as him like lucid dreaming essentially. And it was also around about the time when, if you have kids, you know, like they start having night terrors and all this shit. And but she said when she knew that something legitimate was going on was one day she went to leave the house. And that mudroom door I mentioned had like a stained glass window in it. And she walked over to it, like bent over to pick something up. And when she stood back up, there was an old woman looking at her like through the glass window. And like I said, there's no doorknob on the front door, right? But she ripped the door open really quickly, thinking somebody had walked in and there was no one in the mudroom. And it was an old woman, just like her kid was talking about. And she said that, you know, like disembodied voices, footsteps. There was some French doors that opened up into the living room. Those opened on their own sometimes. One night I came home from work. I went into the kitchen to make food and was walking into the living room to watch TV while I was eating. And there were like three shadow figures that were standing in the living room at the back of the living room. I literally turned around, set my food down on the table, and my dad was like up my ass in the morning about why I left a whole glass of milk and like uneaten food on the kitchen table. And I was like,
lasagna?
It was lasagna. Did I tell you this story already?
Boom! Right here, buddy.
I saw the story going differently. I thought you were going to say that it was like saying things like "oui" and "mi amor" and stuff like that.
No, unfortunately.
Because they're French doors.
Can I ask you whose shadows you saw?
What shadows I saw?
The shadows you saw, were they see-through shadows or were they solid black shadows? I think I've asked you this before.
Yeah.
Did I tell this story on your?
I think you did. Yeah. I think you did. Yeah.
Okay.
Briefly,
sorry for repeating myself.
It wasn't as detailed. It was much shorter.
Yeah. So I'll kind of paint the scene for you, right? So I worked. It was around midnight-ish when I came home, so I didn't turn a bunch of lights on. I had put a DVD in the DVD player, and then it was sitting on like the home screen, right? Waiting for me to hit play. So there was some light coming from the TV, and that was the only light that was illuminating the living room. And so when I walked in, it was already kind of dim, right? But there were three shadows, and they were as black, like Vanta black, right? If you're familiar with the term Vanta black, right? I could not see through them. They appeared as solid. That's how dark. And I could not make out limbs or anything, but there was a head and shoulders and then a form. You know what I mean?
Right.
That went down. And I've had a lot of conversations. In fact, one of the people we had on 305 Paranormal, which is a fantastic episode. We were talking to her about it, and I think that they are an interdimensional thing, truly.
Yes.
I see you have the Hatman in the back, and I know we talked about that when I was on the episode with you.
Yeah.
But when we had Chuck Zukowski on, who he's an investigator, he does the cattle mutilation investigations. Ooh. He was telling Zach and I about how he was practicing astral traveling. And he was doing these like practices that he had learned, these meditations like in his bed, and trying to like basically almost like bodybuilding, like getting to the point where he could do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Exercising that brain muscle. And he said that he had this vision of the Hatman standing in his doorway and had the impression that it was like essentially warning him as like a threatening guardian, like you need to fucking stop. And he said it terrified the hell out of him. And thankfully, and knock on wood, I have never ever experienced the Hatman, but I know a lot of people, or I've seen a lot of people who have, and have met a few people who have. And I do have a friend who I served with who was practicing astral traveling and doing I don't remember what it's called, where you're trying to like do something with a mirror. Yeah, well, he was astral projection. Yeah, and he was using a mirror as well.
Ew, that's not good.
No, but he had several experiences with the Hatman. And I could tell you one of the stories he told me. It was actually really, really creepy. The Hatman and like shadow figures, to me, I think they're sort of like of the same cloth. Does that make sense? I don't know. What do you think?
No, for sure. I believe them to be interdimensional beings. Now, if it's a shadow where you can see through it, that's something completely different.
Do you think that's a spirit?
Yes, I think that's a spirit. Now, the Hatman and these shadow people, they're more of interdimensional. And yeah, by the way, 305, good friends of ours. We love Jen and Mardo. They're awesome.
Yes.
But you don't want to visit from the Hatman. He's kind of similar to the Mothman in that if you see him, it's like
a harbinger,
a bad omen. Yes, he's warning you basically something bad is going to happen. So you don't want to see that dude. But I know his name is Brian Bowden. I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
The name sounds super familiar.
Yeah, well, his basically his theory is they use fear as fuel for them. So when they show themselves, I don't know if you've ever seen any videos of these things. They're freaking dark as
I've seen a few videos, but the ones that I saw in England were extremely dark.
Right, and they are trying to scare you. You have, dude, bring it up.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. I will text it to Zach. So when I lived in Germany, a good friend of mine, I really want her to come on the podcast.
Email it to me, and then
okay, I will. Cheyenne, if you hear this, you need to come on. But anyway, I was taking out the trash one night, and I had so my house in Germany, I went through a lot, I'll say this, of dark shit in Germany. I'll say to you in a sec, Zach. If I'm looking forward to trying to talk at the same time, I'll lose my train of thought. And I had a few like really negative experiences essentially. And one night I took the trash cans outside of my duplex I lived in Germany. And I went to go walk down the steps to go behind the building. And there was just this black mass, like right in the middle of the trash pad, essentially. And I stood there, kind of under the light of the light outside in the driveway, and I just looked at it. And dude, I'm gonna find that picture now because it was extremely creepy and dark. And I took a picture and.
They say a lot of people see the Hatman after they take Benadryl. Like if they take a lot of Benadryl, and if they go to sleep.
I have personal experience with that, and I've not seen the Hatman, but I've seen the spider, which a lot of other people have seen. So that leads me to believe that there really is something out there that you can tap into.
Start from the beginning because I want to hear this after Zach. Finish what you're going to say, Zach.
Yeah, so I looked up like the connection between Benadryl and the Hatman when we were talking about 305, and Benadryl. Right, it's used for like you're having like an allergic reaction or something. Like you're supposed to like
it's antihistamine.
Yeah, antihistamine. But if you take too much, it can make it pretty much makes it so like I can't remember exactly what they're called, but they're called like the synapse or whatever in your brain. They don't send as much data And the idea is that, which makes you really tired, and then you just go to sleep. But the idea is that it's in a way making you transcend, like you are astral projecting without knowing you are a little bit.
Okay.
And it allows these things to come to you, or for you to be visited by them, because you're so, without even knowing it, your brain is not as active, and it's leaving this world because you took too much of this medicine. There's other hallucinogens that can
your brain is not leaving the world. It's your
thoughts,
spirit, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Your mind, which I kind of think your mind and your spirit are the same thing. I kind of feel like it's something it's like your aura. Those are all the same things. Aura, spirit, mind.
They always say matter can't be created nor destroyed. And like when you die, like I do believe that we have like an aura that has to go somewhere. Right. So like, yeah, your physical body's gonna die, but like your personality, you as like an entity, like you still, your thoughts, like there's so many things that they can't just dissolve away. They got to go somewhere. So
I actually, once I meditated, I was trying to meditate. I was learning to meditate in my 20s, and I could never get it right until this one day I finally did something. I don't even know what I did.
Down to bottle of Benadryl.
Where I felt myself kind of float above myself, and I could see the top of my head, like the back and top of my head. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's me, you know? And
that's weird.
The one thought I had, which I could not explain at the time. I didn't understand it. But it was like, fuck yeah, fuck you and your fucking problems. I'm out of here. And I started to float away. I was happy. I was so happy, man. I was the happiest I had ever felt in my entire life. And before I knew it, I was right back in my body. And I was like, what the fuck happened?
You couldn't control
it. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened? And I was I could never get back to it.
You were gonna die, probably. That was your soul, like, leaving your body, dude.
My soul was tired of my body. My soul hates my body. That's what I'm saying. It hates me. And I don't blame it. I don't blame it.
There's a lot of people who have died. Like, they have to get, like, resuscitated or whatever.
Near-death experiences?
Yeah. A lot of them, that if they remember anything in that little in-between time, they say that like they feel like they're floating in like a void, and it's like a tunnel, and they can go back to their body, or like back to what they know, or there's like another like route they can take. And everyone that's come back has said they went back to what they knew, like they went back to what felt familiar, and it's
called the source.
Yeah. So like they. You were probably kind of doing that yourself. You didn't realize you're like leaving, and like it's a good thing you went back, because like Brandon was saying, if you went too far, you probably would have died.
You know what makes me think about Dayvid is like when people think about your soul, I feel like a lot of us think of it as like this pure thing, right? Your soul is this like pure energy. But just hearing you talk about how you were aware that it was happy to leave your worldly troubles behind almost sort of reinforces that idea that we're here to learn lessons, and that perhaps your soul itself is like almost like a kid. Like, thank God I don't have to fucking, go to football practice anymore, or thank God I don't have to fucking, do this again, right? Yeah, because you're sick and tired of the struggle. You know what I mean? And that your soul maybe isn't, this like pure all-knowing energy, right? That it really is just here, and you were heading back to the source of the waiting room to you know what I mean? Like, maybe, I don't know. That's what it made me think
back
of.
into the Matrix.
Right. I want to hear Amanda's story.
Yeah, I was about to say, before we get too far, let's hear about the spider.
Because I was like trying to get a word in, and you guys were not letting me. I was like, I just wanted to let this
you're
topic.
Gonna have, you just got to speak up. I know this is like that. It's an American thing, but you got this.
I'm Canadian, so I'm polite. Sorry. No, I just wanted to say, as probably the only person here with experience with Benadryl, I made lots of bad choices in my 20s, and I have taken Benadryl recreationally like dozens of times. So I have personal experience. In my experience, it does not it makes you fall asleep if you take like 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams. If you take like 700 or 800 milligrams, not advising this, just saying, for a person my size, you trip balls for hours. And
what is that like? Have you ever taken mushrooms, and does it compare?
Mushrooms didn't do anything to me. I tried them and they did nothing. My friend was like talking to townspeople in my carpet, but for me, they did nothing. So I was completely stone sober the whole time. It was fine. But Benadryl is interesting in that it's reliable. Dude, you can like count on what you see. So like my very first hallucination with Benadryl was my at the time boyfriend had dosed me and he was big into that stuff. And so that's how I got wrapped up into it. And he gave me 850 milligrams my very first go. And about half hour in, his skin melted off his face like poltergeist style.
You could die doing that. That's terrifying.
Oh, you probably can, yeah. But and you do eventually vomit because your body recognizes that you're essentially overdosing. So at some point into your trip, you do throw up. Sometimes you pee your pants. Just, who's to say? But I'm just saying it happens. Like I'm not advising it, but I'm just saying
you're in trouble,
But it was always reliable in that there's certain creatures that you'll always see in your trip that are the same. And one of them I actually looked up as a common phenomenon. Now, I've never seen Hatman to my recollection, but there's a Benadryl spider and it looks like a daddy long leg, but its legs are all wiki-wacky different directions and it like spazzes when it walks. And I've like seen glitches? It. My friends who have done it have seen it. Yeah, like it like makes little weird like the way it moves, it doesn't walk like a spider. It walks like all of its legs are broken and it like scurries kind of.
Okay.
And at first it's scary, but once you get used to it, like a little bit bigger than a daddy long leg.
Okay, so it's small. Big. It's not like taking up like massive, the room kind of thing. Okay.
No, it's like a feasible spider. And that's why it fucks with you because you don't know. Like I know when it's starting, I'm like, I can tell that I'm hallucinating, but I don't know if that's real or not. I don't know if I'm hallucinating that or if that's a real spider. So at first you get scared and you try to get away from it. But then in time, you like get used to it being there and you actually kind of look forward to it because it's always there. And it's like a reliable thing that I would always see. And my friends that would do the same stuff, they would see this too. So
would you guys see the same spider? Were you experiencing the same spider or were you all seeing a different spider but look the same?
We didn't really ever do that at the same time. We always have one person do it and like other would trip sit or we'd have it because after you like the first probably an hour or so of your trip, like you can remember and kind of see what's going on and you can interact with what you're seeing. So you're hallucinating, but you're in your head. After a certain point, at least the doses that I would take, I would remember bits and pieces through the night. For example, this one night, the first night, my first hallucination was my boyfriend sitting beside me. His skin melted off his bones, like that guy in Poltergeist. And that freaked me out because that was my first hallucination. So I got scared. He's like, terrifying. Calm down. So as I got through it or whatever, I went and I was sick and vomited because my body was like, oh shit, what's this? And then when I came back, I don't really remember much. Apparently I was like, my phone was sitting on the table and I picked up, it was like a flip phone and I walked over, picked up my phone, but I didn't actually touch my phone. I just picked up the air, opened it, sent a text on nothing, closed it and set it right back down where my phone was and just kept walking. And they're like, okay. I wouldn't answer to my name. I only answered to Courtney. Which Courtney. Is Courtney? I only answered to Courtney for some reason, and like people had to actively keep me occupied. So they were like sitting me in the bedroom, like just keep her occupied. And I was in there like throwing ties and blankets around from my friend's closet, like just being. I don't even remember. And then the cops came at some point because they're like someone complained about the noise because we were partying in an apartment, and the cops showed up. And I walked up to the door when the cops pounded on the door, and I was walking like feeling the door, looking for a knob, and my friends were like, "Get her the fuck out of here!" Like she cannot enter the door. And so I remember bits and pieces. I punched my friend that night, and I only remember that because right after we were in the bathroom, and I punched her, and I looked in the mirror and made eye contact with myself. And for that brief second, I was sober, and I was like, "Oh my god, Tiffany, I'm so sorry." And then I looked away. And I was right back in. So I don't know what the fuck that's about either, but I remember that. Like, that's the only prominent part that stands out that I'm like, I remember hitting you because I looked in the mirror and made eye contact with my reflection.
Mirror, and whatever's normally in the mirror was in you.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was weird because that's the only part I remember crystal clear was making eye contact with my reflection in the mirror.
Did that ever happen?
I knew exactly where I was. Like, I never looked in a mirror again because it freaked me out. So I never, I stayed away from mirrors for the most part. But I never went to sleep on it. You definitely, like, in your head, you're seeing shit, but walking around, you're mumbling and walking into shit and, like, bringing your hairbrush to your friend, like, here, pet it, it's a hamster, and just being, like, really fucking weird. So I don't advise doing it, but in my experience, I never went to sleep. However, I do have an interesting story about my ex who did Coracetin, which is, like, dextromethorphan, like cough syrup. I never fucked with that stuff. because for me, I just like would sleep for 12 hours, but it made them like hallucinate. And so he took it one day, and we were inside. I was playing games on my Xbox, and he was beside me on like a kitchen chair. And the way my apartment was set up, as soon as you open the door, there's like a flight of stairs. There's like literally barely an entrance, and then a flight of stairs, and then the living room. So in his trip, he was smoking a cigarette, which he really was smoking a cigarette in reality. And the chair started like acting like it was on a conveyor belt, and it brought him all the way downstairs, out the front door and outside into the parking lot, and was like moving him in the parking lot. He dropped his cigarette. It zoomed him back up into the living room, and then he snapped up and was like, I just dropped my cigarette. And we tore the fucking house apart, and we could not find it. And I was like, I'm not going outside to see if it's out there, because that would freak me the fuck out. But he really had a cigarette, and it was gone. And he was like, I swear I just tripped that I went outside and dropped it.
That's crazy.
I did look up how much Benadryl you'd have to take to overdose. 3,500 milligrams usually for an average human.
That's a lot.
Oh, wow.
But they're saying...
Still don't advise it.
You'll probably go to a coma before you get to 3,500. They're apparently the most Benadryl that has ever been recorded taken was by a 14-year-old girl, and it was 7,500 milligrams.
Whoa!
You know how many tablets that is?
She died. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She died within like an hour of taking it.
Why?
Makes sense,
dude. Jesus. So the spider thing I actually had not heard of, but I have heard of people having the same experience with the same entities. The ayahuasca, people who've done that before. If you guys are familiar with ayahuasca, they have sort of the same experiences as well. And there's I'm trying to remember the name of him, but there's a guy who does art from what his like trips show him essentially. And there's people that are like, holy shit, you know, that's what I see. This is what I see. This is what I experience. But it just makes me think that like this isn't just a random shared experience, that you actually are experiencing something that's sitting sort of on the other side of the veil that is, I don't know, that's actually real. You know what I mean? I want to do it because I've taken mushrooms before. I've never had an experience like that with like seeing something, you know, like a spider or an entity or anything like that. I don't know, man. I think that...
Amanda, can I ask you about that spider again real quick?
Yeah.
Because when you were describing the legs, it made me think of, what's his name? Damn it. The artist, Salvador Dali.
Salvador Dali?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the elephant legs?
Yeah.
And there's like horse legs that are like that, kind of weird, long.
Yeah. No, they just look like daddy long legs. Like how they just like kind of like sticks, but they were all like broken and weird looking.
Ooh, that's awesome.
And I don't advise that. Was like 20 or 21 when I dabbled in that shit. So anyone listening out, I'm 35 and I've wised up. So I'm not like toting that anyone should do this. It was stupid. But I was a kid and easily influenced. But I did do acid one time. And Zach, you'd be interested. I had a whole conversation with Mr. Clean, who wanted me to tell the world that he wasn't bald. He was mean though.
Legitimately?
But yeah. Legitimately.
That was what you experienced?
Was he Scottish?
Yeah. No, there was like a cleaning product with Mr. Clean on it, and I did acid beside it, and I tripped that I had like a whole conversation. Everyone else was partying, and I was talking to fucking Mr. Clean over in the corner.
Dude, that's wild.
That's awesome.
It is.
I meant to bring that up last time when we were having our Mr. Clean conversation.
You guys ever seen this before?
No, he's terrifying.
I have seen this, but I have not seen it in my dream.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen it in my dream either. But this is an interesting thing from 2006. Where a lot of people, I guess, were dreaming this person. And they were like, have you ever seen this? And then there was, like, thousands of people were like, yeah, I've seen this dude in my dream, which is kind of weird. And then there was another thing. I'll see if I can find it. It was like some dream survey. I gotta see if I can find it.
That was actually a hoax.
That was a hoax?
A company basically came up with the idea.
There was a hoax off of a real thing. So there was like a small thing, but the website was a hoax. So like there was a real thing, which was a couple thousand, and then the company was like, oh, let's use this for marketing. So then they took it and they turned it to a marketing hoax.
So they based that whole thing on a movie with Nicolas Cage called Dream Scenario. And that recently came out. Really cool movie.
It was
I liked it a lot. Yeah,
it wasn't the best. It was just like...
I loved it.
Kind of underwhelming for an A24 movie. I expected better.
No, I haven't seen it. Dayvid, earlier you were talking about Hatman and Mothman like being harbingers. So you're probably familiar with Indrid Cold then?
I don't think so.
Okay. So
Talk to me.
No. So there was a guy, his name is Woodrow Derenberger. I want to say he's like the first person to have an experience with Indrid Cold. And Indrid essentially is like kind of like he seems, the way he's described, kind of like a guardian or somebody who's going after Mothman in this scenario, right? I don't want to misspeak too much because he also is a shared experience. He's the Grinning Man, if you've ever heard.
Yes, I know the Grinning Man. Yeah.
Okay. So
I've done a few videos on him.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, I'm going to pull this up because I do not want to fuck this up. So it says, Woodrow Derenberger, mysterious encounter with almost human grinning man on the back roads of West Virginia in November of 1966. So essentially, he said a spaceship landed and Indrid walked out of the spaceship, and that it wasn't this like futuristic looking, flying saucer or anything like that. It was actually really rickety, almost like steampunk style, spaceship essentially. But that this guy, Indrid Cold, is somebody that a lot of people have experienced at different places, and that he's like an interdimensional hunter essentially. I'm just kind of curious if you'd ever heard of him, but his legend and lore is super interesting to me. But yeah, no, Indrid Cold ruined Woodrow's life basically. Everybody called him a liar. He lost his job. He wrote a book about it and was interviewed like on live television. It cost him a lot, right? And he stuck with his story his entire life. And John Keel, the guy who wrote Mothman prophecies or whatever, he interviewed Woodrow as well about Indrid Cold. But other people have experienced it. They say they've experienced Indrid Cold, and he is sort of this like interdimensional hunter essentially is kind of how he's described. But he basically pulled Woodrow over in his spaceship in his car, and this is the story that he said, and that he had this unearthly like grin on his face the whole time. It was sort of like Uncanny Valley-ish, where he looked human but not human. And when he's described, it always makes me think of, what's the bad guy from Courage the Cowardly Dog? You know who I'm talking about? Like
the grandpa?
Not the grandpa, but the like creepy.
He was pretty bad to Courage.
No, he was, but the dude who in one of the episodes, he shows up in the middle of the night and he is smiling like constantly. I want to even say that that character was inspired by Indrid Cold. But anyway, I'll before I keep rambling and try and piece all this shit together, I'll come back to it. But Zach, you said you had something about a dream.
Yeah, so it's not a dream I had. I was talking about this. This week actually, which is kind of weird. There's a lot of like coincidences that are happening in our podcast so far in this episode. But this week I watched like a 40-minute like investigative documentary on YouTube by a guy called like Lex Pro. He does a lot of really good investigation stuff, and he was trying to figure out this. So this was going around. There was a thing in California, and it was like, have you been having strange dreams? The Willamette Valley Dream Survey is investigating a recent spike in bizarre, unexplainable dreams. If you have been experiencing any unusual dream activity, you can help by reporting a summary. You call the number, and then you could get it goes to voicemail after they say leave a description of your dream.
Okay.
As of that video where the guy did the documentary, and it's like 2 weeks old, this number still works. And if you call them, it'll still say, like, tell us your dream. So you can tell them your dream, and then if your dream is like weird enough, I guess, or if they like it, they'll call you back at like 3 a.m. and ask you about your dream. And he couldn't figure out like who they were or what they were doing. And Amanda's calling the number. Is it still working
right now?
Oh,
user
she is
busy.
calling it.
It says user busy.
Wow.
Someone's probably telling him a dream right now.
Someone's telling him a dream.
Oh, the number doesn't work
text them
anymore.
like, yo, you want my dream or not, bitch?
Yeah, it was like
I
weird.
have nothing but strange dreams.
He was trying to figure this out, and there was like a link to like a payphone company, and there was a payphone company that on certain payphones in like I can't remember the city, but in a random city in the United States has like a certain like payphone company that's still in service. And the payphone company, if you click on operator, and then it'll have like a bunch of options, and one of them is to contact the dream survey. So it's like really weird, and like there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff into it. Maybe I'll send Brandon the link to the video I watched, so maybe you can like link it on our page or whatever. But it's an interesting thing. He couldn't solve it. He still had no idea what this was or what it meant. But it's just like a weird thing where they just want to hear your dreams. So.
Well, I keep really a dream log, so they'd love me because I got the weird. I like dream about waking up on Walmart shelves next to my belongings. Like it's weird. I have some weird dreams.
Dude,
I wish I were joking about that one, but that's a real one.
No, I've definitely had some weird dreams too, but no. David,
you were mentioning sleep paralysis, and I had a serious issue with that in my 20s.
Like it happened often,
sleep
or
often.
Okay,
way too much, and I would go and try to talk to people to see if they could help me. No one really could help me, and so I don't like to talk about certain subjects because people have real experiences with this, and to me, I was able to find that for me personally, I could prove that they were dreams and they were not actually, like I was not awake, because everyone says they're awake. Everyone says that they know there's something on top of them or there's something dark or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I started to look around once I would be in this state to make sure I was either asleep or awake. And one thing that I would constantly notice is that.
So you could open your eyes while you were in sleep paralysis? Okay.
I just couldn't scream. I was trying to scream. I couldn't make a sound, I
tried to do that. And that story I was talking about England, I tried to yell to like wake my dad up, but I couldn't. And I was like, fuck. But anyway, yeah.
I remember I was married at the time, and my wife, I was trying to scream for her to wake me up. And when I was making the sound, it was very, very, very light. But she heard it and she woke me up one day or one night. And I was like, oh, thank God, you got me out of that.
Do you guys ever dream about falling?
All the time.
But not in a very long time. But I have had that feeling where like you feel like you've hit your bed. That's
but when you're weird. Like half asleep, where like you recognize the feeling of falling, and if you open your eyes, you can pull yourself out of it. Like, do you ever have that? Because I get that all the time.
I have had that. Isn't it called like the hypnagogic jerk when you do that?
Yeah.
Oh,
babies do it a lot. Like
they do.
Senna, Senna, she'll be asleep, and if you like, that's my daughter. If you hit like her foot or like move her arm, she thinks she's falling, so she goes like, she just
Well, don't hit her feet, Zach. God.
Well, I could tell in sleep paralysis, when I would open my eyes, I would look around the room and notice something that couldn't possibly be real. For example, I know that the door to my bedroom is on this wall, but when I was in sleep paralysis, I'd open my eyes and look, and the door was on this wall. And I said, well, wait, that's not right. There's no way.
Were things just mirrored?
Yeah.
Or was like the room different?
No, the room was different, but it was like you see one door on this wall, and then you'd look, it's not there anymore. It's actually on this wall. Or like in another dream, it was in the opposite end of the room where there's no way there's a door there because that goes outside. So what the fuck is going on? And I realized that I was dreaming. So after I started to do that, open my eyes, and when I was having these issues, they slowly went away. And I haven't had one in decades.
I had a lot of sleep paralysis too when I was in my 20s. That was probably the majority of it. Right? Like I said, I lived in that house in England. I was like 19-ish, but my early 20s, I had it a lot. And when I was in high school, I actually my girlfriend I was dating at the time, her parents must have just been super cool because her house, her bedroom was not actually a part of the house. It was connected, but there was a wall. So you had to go outside of the house to get into her room. It was almost like a mother-in-law suite, really.
Okay.
Had a bathroom and all that stuff. But her parents were cool with me going over there, and I actually spent the night a few times. And but that was actually the first time I had like a truly creepy experience with sleep paralysis. I heard my name, and it sounded like her door opened, and then it sounded like somebody said my name next to my head. And that was the first time I ever had it, like really, yes, just like that. And but I had it. I think I couldn't even tell you the last time I had it. It has been maybe a couple years, but I know what's going on now, and I recognize it for what it is. And instead of panicking, you almost feel more trapped in it. I think when you start panicking about what's going on. So I calm myself down by like talking myself through it, and I'll either wake up out of it or I'll just fall back to sleep. But one time I've had sleep paralysis, and 99.99% of the time I've had sleep paralysis, I have been on my back. And one time I had it laying on my stomach. And in the process of sleep, well, it was just that, yeah, and it is. In the process of sleeping, like my head must have come off my pillow, right? And so I remember having this feeling like dude, sometimes. That's me. I had this feeling in my head and my neck that if I didn't wake, and I know that sounds weird to say I had this feeling in like my head and my neck, it was like this pressure. But I remember almost like I was being warned that if I did not wake up out of this, I was just going to fucking die.
Wow.
And I remember like struggling. No, because my head was on its side. I wasn't like face down in the sheets. I had my head was turned. But I struggled for however long, like couple seconds maybe, to like turn my head the other way. And when I did that, dude, all of this like anxiety, panic, and pressure just completely left my body. I was freaked out because I was like, what the fuck was just going on? And I just like turned over and like laid there. You know what I mean?
Was your mouth open when that happened?
Was my mouth open when I was experiencing when
you were like frozen in place?
I couldn't even tell you because I literally just
like
remember
a demon in there, like
yeah, no, yep, just kidding. Yep, no, maybe
little Jonah Hill.
That's what
action.
happens when you. That's what happens when you yawn. A ghost sticks his dick in your mouth.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to keep you still if he's like can't have him waking up and biting down. So
yeah, no, I don't know, man. Maybe I got face fucked. I have no idea. But I do know. I did, yeah. That's enough of this. Ethereal blowjob, you know.
That's why I say that I don't like to jump on anyone else's experience, because to me your experience sounds very valid and real, and it makes a lot of sense to me. But to me, when it happened to me, I could tell it was a dream. I finally figured in my own experience, I was like, I'm fucking dreaming, man. That's what's happening to me. So I was able to break out of that. And it's just really interesting to me because other people have serious, real experiences when it comes to this. And it's like they really see things, they really feel things, especially when they're laying on their stomach. And so that's
go
ahead.
I've never had sleep paralysis. But
lucky.
So I don't move when I sleep. My wife says I actually kind of look like I'm like in a coffin because I apparently sleep like this. And
Zach is actually a vampire.
Horny demons hate Zach.
And I don't move.
He keeps it wrapped up,
But
it's like I keep a roll of duct tape next to my bed.
The reason why I'm saying I don't move is one of my biggest fears, and it's because it's happened to me several times in my life, is like becoming like my arm like losing too much circulation, or one of my limbs losing too much circulation to where it like falls off. Because like if you like had a tourniquet on your arm for like days, like your arm's going to be decrepit and it's going to fall off, like it's dead, like you can't like fix it anymore. Well, I've had times where I have woken up and a limb of mine will be paralyzed, like not my whole body, and it's not
just one.
Yes, and it's not a positional. Stop it, man! It's not a positional. it's not a positional thing because I remember I brought it up and
Zach has a permanently disabled appendage, but
I remember I brought it up to my dad when I was little when it happened once, and my dad was like, "Well, you probably were like sleeping with your arm up or something, and you just like cut off the circulation for a little bit, and you're just gonna do it." And I was like, "No, because I always sleep on my back and I don't move." And it got confirmed pretty much, like, because my wife's like, "Yeah, you never move. Like every night you sleep the same position, you don't move at all." And it would still happen, and so I'll be sleeping perfectly still on my back, like I'm in a coffin or whatever, and I will still randomly wake up on my back, and my like left arm, like I can't move it.
Oh,
it doesn't move.
Does she like wake you up? Does she wake you up at all to see if you're okay, if you're alive?
No, she doesn't. But like,
she'll be all right with it then.
She wants to SGLI, but no. So I would sometimes
like life insurance money. Me.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
That's what that is. SGLI.
Yeah.
But it's really weird because like it freaks me out because I wake up and I had a couple times where I wake up like real freaked out and I start like I'll like grab my arm that's not moving with my other arm and I'll be like flailing around like move like come on.
Wow.
And it doesn't come back like if you do, because I've had times where it pinches and it kind of comes back all like kind of like staticky feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but it comes back kind of like tingly, right? It doesn't do it that way. It just randomly boom, it works again. So I don't know what that is.
Dude,
so
your arm is being taken over to jerk off a ghost, bro. That's what's happening. That's what it is.
He's like, I don't know what's going on.
Right?
But he never moves, so it's the ghost that's doing all the moving, right? That's what's going on.
That's what I'm saying. It's not blowjobs, it's boo jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's what's going on.
Do you have any back issues, Zach, by chance? Any back issues?
I do have lower.
You know, my ex-wife, she had like an issue with her leg, and it was because of a slip disc, and she had to get surgery for that. And once they took care of they had to cut the disc basically. She was fine.
So I've thought of that because I destroyed my.
Dude, I wish you had that video to put up, man.
I destroyed this and everything.
I've seen it.
I had to have surgery, and I do have like nerve damage in my left hand. But it happens to my right arm.
Yeah.
It happens to my legs.
Which is your dominant arm, right?
My right arm is my dominant arm, yeah. Whatever.
So going back to what you were saying, David, the majority of the sleep paralysis that I've had, I've known that it's like that natural that happens because your body like shuts off so you don't get out of bed and all that shit when you're dreaming, right?
Yeah.
And I know that that's what it is. You know, I always kind of, when I recognize that it's happening, I'm like, fuck, and it's more like annoying than anything.
Yes.
But those times that it happened to me in England, those weren't like that. This wasn't, I was just dreaming or like I was asleep and then I just recognized that I couldn't, my body hadn't caught up with my brain, so to speak.
Yeah.
This was something totally different. And I mean, I've read a lot, like people's opinions on what it is. Like I've seen like, oh, something was trying to take over your body, or like, your body, was your soul had left and was trying to come back, and that's what was attracting these things to you. Personally, I genuinely think that whatever was in that house was attracted to me for some reason. I don't know why, because I didn't even stay in the room that the little boy that I was saying, his room was actually my brother's room in that house when we moved in. And so I really don't know why. I don't know if maybe I'm just more sensitive than like my brother and sister. My sister's fairly sensitive. But I don't know. I just know that there's a difference. I can tell that like, okay, this is the natural, like I'm just experiencing sleep paralysis. Yeah. Those in no way, shape or form were related. Like it wasn't just me dreaming and experiencing that.
That's really cool. That's really cool because there is something going on in that house. No doubt about that. There's something going on in the house. And that could play into what you were experiencing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And no matter where I've lived, something has always happened or been weird. Even when I was in the barracks when I was an airman, I had weird shit happen to me in my room. One time, dude, I play guitar. I went to take a leak. I set my guitar down. I had a bed, a single like twin bed, and it was pretty high up. I had a couple different dressers like pushed in underneath it just to give myself some more space. And I had a futon couch bed, and I was sitting there. I was playing guitar. I got up. I leaned the guitar against the bed and the dresser that was underneath it. Went and took a leak and came back into my barracks room, and my guitar, instead of sitting on the body with the neck leaning against the bed, it was leaning on the neck with the body against the bed. I mean, it's just whatever 1 minute, right, to go in there, take a leak, and come back out. And it's a think of it like a smaller hotel room. It's not like no one could have come in there either and done that. But that happened to me.
Crazy.
Somebody was definitely pulling your strings.
Oh, wow.
I see what you did there.
Was that a guitar pun? I like
very
it.
nice.
Yeah. The Japanese,
I had to pick one.
The Japanese
wow. There's another one.
Can imprint like on people and like follow them. But they only have so much energy. So like because you said you had stuff for a while, so like you could have been in Germany and something there could have imprinted on you, and then you go somewhere else and it's not instant. Like the spirit only has so much energy; it can't just like go across the world immediately. So it has to like catch up to you. It has to like take a while to get to you. That's the thing that can happen.
It could be because the first time I remember something happening to me was when my dad was stationed at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, and we lived in off-base military housing. And honestly, this is kind of like a story of missing time if you're familiar with the concept, because where my bed was positioned, I was looking at the window, and I actually remember looking out the window, and then I felt like I blinked, and when my eyes were open, the sun was coming through the window. And I was like, what the hell?
Damn.
Like, that's really weird.
That's crazy.
And I didn't, I felt like I slept, but I felt like I missed out on that sleep because it was dark and then it wasn't. Like the sun was up, it was the daytime and everything. But that house, I had, a couple different like weird experiences. I remember dreaming a few different times of getting up and walking down the hall and going there was a closet that had like a really, really deep space in it. You know what I mean? And it was actually, you would go in and then there was like a level up that you could put even more stuff. And I remember having this dream a couple different times where I would get up and go down the hall and open the door into that closet, and I would climb over all of the shit my parents had in there and make my way into the back, like on the second level of the storage, and just go to sleep again in my dream. But that never happened. I never woke up in there. And then in Germany, my mom and I actually had a shared experience. We were sitting I walked into her bedroom one night and I heard she was watching like a scary documentary. And so I just walked into her room and sat down like on the end of the bed.
David's birth
and
video.
It was actually, sorry, David, seen it all, dude. But no, she was watching it. And so I, in the process of watching it, kind of like sat back on the bed a little bit more and was watching it, and the entire bed started like shaking.
Ooh.
So like it is like my whole life, really strange experiences.
I've had dreams of like having a very vivid, realistic entire day happen. Like where I wake up.
In your dream?
Yeah, where like in my dream I have woken up, I go through like my normal routine, and a whole like Monday happens, and like all of it, and then I go to sleep, and when I wake up, it's Monday again.
Wow. Does anything from your dream happen during the real day?
Like most of the day. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like hardcore deja vu. It happens very randomly, but I've had times where I experience the whole next day and then wake up and it's that day.
Okay.
That's
so
crazy.
I'm going to tell this is true about Zach. Zach has supernatural powers because I've seen it in front of me multiple times. No, it's true. It's true.
Please
dude.
Elaborate.
I'm about to.
Yeah.
So when Zach and I were deployed together, Zach legitimately would bless people's ice cream who were lactose intolerant.
And they wouldn't have symptoms.
And they would not have
lactose intolerant.
And I literally watched
Lactose
this happen. Like people,
I like that.
That's his. Yep.
Got milk.
Yeah.
You don't.
Got Zach. No.
No.
Dude, but he would. He'd fucking like he'd sit there
lactose.
and like.
Can you milk me?
I did. I would bless ice cream.
Dude, what if he's the second coming of Jesus for real? Wouldn't that be something?
Dude, no, I just.
I don't want to be hit by lightning all of a sudden.
The beard is looking pretty fresh.
Yeah, baby.
You know? But no, I've seen Zach do it. I've seen Zach do it, and it actually worked. So
That's
people
crazy.
that I knew were lactose intolerant. Yeah,
it did really throw Brandon for a loop. It almost ruined his whole like religious like psyche.
I was not as close to converting to Mormonism as Zach at the time would have hoped, but I did think about it for maybe a whole 5 seconds. You know,
you're like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Yep.
You know, Zach, I've had similar things to you, except instead of dreaming my whole day, I've dreamt stuff, wrote about my dream, and then had like pretty specifically the same thing happen within like a day or two, which is kind of crazy because I'll have like written it down. Yeah, like the one that I have photo evidence of is I had a dream one night, and in like the excerpt that I had wrote about, I said I got on the plane, but I didn't have any baggage. And like everyone on the plane knew that it was going to take off, but it was never going to land. And so like in my dream, the plane took off a couple times, but it never landed in my dream. And then a couple days later, that fucking Malaysian airline went missing. Like within 2 days, it vanished in thin air without ever landing.
Dude,
so I was like, that's kind of weird.
You know what's funny is I don't know if you know this, but there are actually a lot of people who had a dream a day or two prior to that plane going down about that plane going down.
Really?
Talking about like shared experience.
That's bizarre.
Dude,
see, what was weird
Google
is
it because there's a lot of people.
I watched a video about that. There's like people who are like,
I have like
had a dream
a photo of my dream log with the date and everything.
Shit.
Like, I have evidence of it or whatever.
Same thing happened.
I wonder if you had.
A lot of people.
Yep, I was
a
just
lot
about
of
to say
people
that.
had dreams of towers falling in New York or like something similar. Like days to like a couple weeks before 9/11 actually happened. It was like a lot of people talking about it, and then it happened, and they're like, "What the heck?"
I had a dream before Desert Storm of U.S. like deployments in the desert at night, and there I could see them running in the desert. You know, weapons ready to go, like something's about to happen, like they're about to attack. And it was a month or 2 months later that Desert Storm happened, which
weird.
Was it just one night that you had that dream, or was it like over a period of time?
It was one night, and I remember waking up and telling my wife about it, and I was like, "Damn, this is the craziest." You know, that would be weird, right? Yeah. And then like a month and a half later, boom.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
the dreams I have of like whole days.
Fucked around and found out.
Yeah.
Like I had one where it was recently when I was still recruiting, and I had like my whole day where I went to the office, I had like appointments, all type of stuff, and then obviously I went to sleep and I woke up and I restarted that day and I was like, what the heck? And I remember like those when I restart the day doing it again, I'm like really confused for like the early morning. I'm like, I'm already done
deja
this.
vu,
like,
deja vu, right? Feeling it.
But it's like super deja vu.
Yeah.
But that one really hit me because I remember I was like, well, I have an appointment with this guy, but I've never met him before. So I actually went to the Navy recruiter, my buddy Tobin, and I was like, hey, I've never met this guy before. I'm going to explain him to you, what he looks like. Guide. And then you're going to see him, and you're going to confirm that I knew exactly what he looked like before he walked in here, because I've never seen him. I've only talked to him on the phone. Tobin's like, yeah, sure, man, whatever. Dude comes in for his appointment. He looked exactly how I described him. Like, exactly. To the color of the sweatshirt he was wearing, like, everything. And then that appointment, because I'd already done it, I was, like, skipping things, and I was answering his questions before he asked me, because I had already known what he was going to do.
Does that ever happen with, like, me? Like,
no.
You've had, like, no?
So my most recent
someone's like banging really loud. I don't know. It's pretty loud in the headset.
My bad.
Yeah.
How about now?
My most recent like dream thing where it was like a whole day was the one I just explained where I was the recruiter. Before that, I hadn't had one since like before Kenya. Like they're really, really, really seldom. Like, and then before that was like a couple times in Japan, and then like high school. Like they're really, really random.
What do you think that is? Because like if you look at it from a religious sense and like all of us having free will, then your day should not be predetermined, right?
Yeah.
So what is it? Are you seeing into the future, or is this one of those things like that scene from the Matrix where when Neo goes to see the Oracle and she tells him to look out for the vase or whatever, and he turns around and knocks it over, and she makes the comment about like, would you have knocked it over if I hadn't have said anything? So you just basically were your own perpetuating reality because you were sort of tipped off about it in a way.
Maybe, but I just manifested it. But like in my dream, I didn't tell Tobin, hey, this guy's going to walk in. He's going to look exactly like this. Right? And in my dream, I wasn't answering the questions the kid was going to ask me beforehand. So
you're getting some details, but not every detail.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm reliving the day exactly.
Was it like intense deja vu the whole time?
Yes. Like down to like little stuff, like walking into like a Rite Aid, and it's the exact same people who are walking out when I was walking in. That was in my dream. It's like, what the heck?
So like the way he's experienced, the way he's talking about it makes me think of time, and the way we think of time is linear, right? So it's just from this point to that point. But in other dimensions, higher dimensions, time isn't like that. It's not like from one point to one point. It's everywhere. You can basically go to any point.
Everything that's ever happened or will happen is happening at the same time.
Right. So if you think of it like that, it's already happened. He's already experienced it. So now he's experienced it again, but this time he's like, I remember this. Let me make this point. So he's changed it in a sense, right? It's like he's already been here, but he's going back to that same point in time, and he's experiencing it with the knowledge of it.
I wonder if it's almost like if you think of it like the frame of a building without like the drywall, without the doors, without the furniture, without the electrical, that framework. Everything like what he experienced, it's the framework, and then you flesh it out. I wonder, does that make sense?
Yes.
Like analogizing it that way?
Yes.
Do you guys ever get deja vu about stuff that's not happened before, that you're like sure it's never happened, but you have like a super intense feeling of deja vu about it?
Like you think it's happened before, but
like you get deja vu so strong that it feels like in situations that never could have happened before. Like I'll do that sometimes. Someone will say something, like someone that I've only known for like a few weeks or something will say something, and I'll get the biggest deja vu, and I'm like, there's no physical way that this could have happened before because I just met this person or whatever the case. But it's so strong, and it's like just as strong as when I get deja vu about stuff that has happened. I get it all the time.
Well, the one thing I always wonder about with deja vu is when you get it, do you experience a sense of like wonder, or do you experience a sense of dread?
It depends on the situation.
It's not really either. It's just like intense awareness. It's not really dread or wonder or anything. It's just like, wow, why? Like, I've definitely been in this moment. That person has said that exact phrase with that exact tone and inflection, and with this other person that's here exactly the same way, but there's no way it could have. And then it's like, maybe everything is a fucking simulation, because how would you why would your brain randomly pick a random moment to be like, yeah, this has happened before?
When I get deja vu, it's like everything really slows down, and then like I start hyper focusing on like every little detail, because I'm like, well, what else am I about to remember, or what else do I try to like
continue the feeling?
Yeah. Because I do have those days where I'm just like, what the heck? So when I get a small one, I'm like, have I had this day already? Like
that must be the weirdest feeling, man. All day long. I've never heard of that before. That's amazing.
Either.
Yeah, I've never had a day like that.
The second days are so long because I've already done it. So like to me, I'm like, oh my god.
You know, that makes total sense because you've already done it. It's like super freaking long.
It's like rewatching
Plus,
a
dreaming
movie.
Dreaming is a whole different animal, right? You're not. It's like you're gliding straight through this dream. And you know,
well, and it's faster too. You can dream it feels like 5 hours in like 45 minutes.
Plus, you have several dreams a night. I don't know if you guys know that, but you can have up to like 5 dreams a night, and it's just.
touch a little bit on like the free will idea. When I was very religious, one of my bishops, because I brought it up to him, I was like, well, if everything's like predetermined and God knows everything, then how do I have the choice to like choose things if it's like it's already
How does
done?
free will exist if God already knows? How did he give us free will if he already knows what we're going to do? Yeah.
Yep. And the way he explained to me, and this could kind of maybe go into like how what you were saying about like time all the time, David, or like different dimensions and stuff, is that he explained it that he said, think of God as like he's up in a hot air balloon, like way above you, and you're on a route with several turnoffs. God can see every possible turnoff you can take at any given time, which can alter your life path or whatever's going on. But he can't influence you or he can't make you take the turnoff he wants. So he knows every outcome you could ever do for any decision forever. And he knows where they all lead. And if you're like praying to God and you're close to your Heavenly Father, then he can guide you to the one that's best. But you can actively say no or not pray to God or not pay attention and go down all the routes that suck. Or you can still go down the best route and not even know it. And that's how he explained it, is God can see every route for everyone at all times, but he doesn't force you down a route. You still choose it.
That makes sense. Sort of like he's just seeing, because he's omniscient, right?
Sees omnipotent.
Sees all the outcomes because he understands the framework, how it's all going to work out. But you are choosing, and it's just kind of like a domino effect, so to speak, of what's going to happen. It's not that you...
So you're technically fated to do an infinite amount of things because you could take an infinite amount of routes.
Well, how about this, Zach? How about this? You do take every single route. But you do take every single possible route, except when you do, you branch out into a different universe.
Another route opens up, right? Because there's another universe of you that took that route, and that's where the infinite idea comes. Is that every decision you've ever made, all of us, starts another branch to where you didn't make that decision,
right?
For all of us, and it's always happening.
Butterfly
so, like
effect.
Every time anything ever makes a decision, another dimension is created to fulfill that decision's outcome.
Right.
So you mean to tell me that somewhere out in this wonderful world of mystery, there's an Amanda who has her shit together and made all the right decisions in life and is probably succeeding at everything right now? Fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch. I don't like her.
She doesn't even know who you are. She doesn't even think about you.
She probably is like, there's some loser out there who probably wants my life.
So I think
it's probably.
I have a theory that every second you've ever lived in your life, no telling how old you're actually going to live, right? But every second you've been alive, every moment that you've been alive, you've died in another universe. From birth to the latest death that you have died. And I've seen, like, I drive. I'm a courier, so I drive a lot of places, and I've seen some of those deaths, man. I've come close. I've avoided them, but I don't think I avoided them in another universe.
Yeah.
There's a theory that, like, when you get like that little shake that goes like down your spine, you kind of like you just died. You just died somewhere.
Hell yeah!
Like another alternate you just died.
Yes.
So if that theory holds true, and there's like an alternate universe, like infinitely for all of your decisions, that means that in some atmosphere or whatever reality out there, there's a world where like nobody's ever died ever, and everybody's all just crammed together like little sardines on Earth because.
Old age would eventually
if
get you.
there's infinite, that means there's one reality where nobody has died ever, and they're just all like.
Yeah. With that, I mean, that means that there's a universe out there where beef stroganoff is currency. You know what I mean? So.
Oh my god, that's.
I love that,
dude.
I love it.
Well, that's what Zach does in his sleep. Apparently, stroganoff. Gross.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
But
I was holding on to that for like 20 minutes.
I did, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Technical difficulties, but yeah, lucid dreaming, very, 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 very weird stuff. It's all Amanda's fault. I'm just gonna say it right
I'm the
now.
problem.
She
It's
is.
me.
She is.
Her Wi-Fi is lucid dreaming away from.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's hallucinating. Yep.
I'm sorry.
You guys,
I want to know.
I came with internet problems.
I had this thing on my page, on my Instagram page, called the 6 questions, and number 5 is one of my favorite questions, and I asked everyone this question, so 5 and 6 are the same. Number 5 is, what is the scariest or weirdest dream you ever had? I was wanting to ask you guys to get your take on that.
The scariest dream I've ever had. So, I would say the scariest dream I ever had that I can recall, right? I actually had this dream several times. I've had this dream. I remember having this dream when I was a kid, and then I've had it several times as an adult. Essentially, I'm standing outside of this building, which I feel like I've come to recognize as the old Boy Scout hut on Simbach Air Base, which is no longer there, but I went to very often because when I was a Boy Scout. But I walk into the side of the building, and there are all of these people. It's like a long hallway through the building. So the outside looks like this building, but the inside doesn't. And the walls and the floor are all this like gross, like pea soup tile green. And there's a bunch of people just like sitting against the floor, laying in the middle of the hallway, and they're all really sick. And they all have this like brown like goop. It almost like reminds me of like earwax almost, but it's kind of all over them. And I remember that I am going in there to get a drink of water. But there is this woman that is sitting like up underneath the water fountain, and I keep trying to get water, but she keeps trying to grab me. And the longer I try to get water, the more this like evil looking, like her face becomes extremely angular. Like I remember like even her chin becomes this like goes from like a regular like rounded chin to like a very pointed, like just sinister looking thing. Everything becomes black. She becomes very pale. And then I remember there's a door on the other side that you can walk through this building that I am trying to get to it. But all the people that are like I always say they're sick, leaned up against the walls, are trying to like pull me into and keep me there. It's almost like that scene in Little Mermaid where all the people who lost their bet with the evil witch are like trying to pull at Ariel to keep her in there. That's like what's happening to me. And this, whatever it is, this thing behind me is basically like tracking me down the hallway. And sometimes I get out, and sometimes I get out into it's a parking lot. I get out into a parking lot, and that's kind of the end of the dream. But there have been a few times where it's not, and I've been grabbed, and then the next thing I realize that like I feel like I'm in like a forest almost. I've never gotten past that, but the last time I had that, where I guess you could say like I lost getting out of the building in the dream, was when I was stationed in Germany. So
wow, that is really cool, man. That is a really good one.
Jesus.
Zach, do you have anything like that?
Mine's not like anything, I guess, like creepy or paranormal or anything like that. Mine's in relation to an actual event in my life. In June of 2016, I was deployed to a country in South America, and I was involved in like a 25-minute firefight. All the Americans made it out. We were good to go. All my buddies, we were able to leave and go back to our deploy location just fine. But since that moment, and I'm assuming it's like a relation to like PTSD of the moment or whatever, I have a nightmare a lot of where we don't make it out, or my buddies die in front of me.
Wow.
Or I can't save them, or I miss something, and it'll be some type of variable of that. And I'm actually feeling like hot
just talking about it,
thinking about it now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It is a reoccurring nightmare. And it's always it was just me, my buddy Patterson, my buddy Chisholm. And they always both die. And I always wake up like in night sweats and stuff. But that's the scariest dream I have. And
that's definitely post-traumatic stress related
Yes,
because
it
I have
is.
similar dreams and having gone through extensive therapy about them, that's a very strong indicator you have PTSD, Zach.
I have a similar one about a guy who crashed on his motorcycle when I was in Japan, who gave CPR to him until paramedics arrived. And when the paramedics arrived, they gave him CPR for like a minute, and then they stopped. And they told me that like he was dead before I got there. So I have dreams a lot about him. He will enter my dreams, and he will like tell me that I failed, that I didn't save him.
Holy shit!
Like I will be in a random like not related to him at all scenario, and he'll just show up. Like he'll be the pizza delivery guy, and he'll be like, "Yeah, man, you didn't save me. This is all your fault." And I'm like, "Fuck." And then I have dreams of the 8-year-old girl Madison, who also died when I responded to an incident. She was in the backseat of a car, and she was T-boned. Her mom was driving, and they were T-boned, and she was crumpled into the vehicle. She was going to die if they tried to take her out. So I just spoke to her until she passed away to like calm her down. And I have dreams a lot of her. She'll enter my dreams a lot. I actually, when I found out I was having a daughter, I had a dream that when my daughter was born, it was actually Madison, and then she died in my arms as my daughter being born, which was really shitty. But yeah, those are the really bad dreams that I have. They're reoccurring.
Wow. Man, I hope you can get some help for those, because good Lord.
Yeah.
You did everything right. Let me just tell you, Zach, you did everything right, bro. Okay?
Yeah, I have seen people for it. I take anxiety meds and stuff for it and stuff.
I feel like it's something that you feel guilty that they didn't survive, and you're carrying that with you, and it's manifesting itself in your dreams as... But it's you. It's not really that person.
Yeah.
I think it's you telling yourself. You know what I mean? Man.
Yeah.
Whole new respect for you, my brother.
Yeah, no,
whole new respect.
You're spot on, David. That's literally what I've been told before, is that is just like an aphorism of what you're feeling, and it's just manifesting itself in your mind as that. And I don't know, it'll never go away, but there's like things that you can tell yourself. And I've gotten to the point now where like, so I have similar dreams, but I can say things to myself now to where one of the things I'll say is that the best outcome happened. So there are worst outcomes.
Yes. So. Yes. That's great. That's a good way to say it. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you both for your service, man. Seriously, thank you both for your service. And I know Amanda's worst dream, but I want to hear it.
What is it?
Say feet?
I do too.
Oh my god, feet, it's like, so
right?
Like just circle here.
Feet.
Solely feet. The agony of
just
defeat.
Toes everywhere. Yeah. No, it happened. I want to preface this with saying I was really, really young when I had this, but it scared the daylights out of me. So do you guys know those plastic pools that were like around in the 90s, and they were like little blue flat shallow and they had like 3D impressions?
They had a slide?
No, it was just there were the cheap plastic blue pools that were like
really
for
thin
toddlers
walls
to splash around in. Yeah.
Mine had a slide.
But do you remember the ones that had designs like starfish and seahorses and stuff? And so if you were in the pool, they were 3D, but if you were outside, there was like concave shapes of the stars and So, I'm just glad you guys understand what that is, because that's hard to describe to people who don't know what that is. So in my dream, my sister and I were in Highchair. So this is like how young I was in this dream. And she was in front of me. Do you guys call them high chairs here?
Yes.
Sitting in a high chair, big chair, my chair, sitting in a high chair, feed me soon.
Yeah.
What? Feed you soup in a high chair?
No,
is that what you
feed me soon. Sitting in a high chair, big chair, my chair, sitting in a high chair, feed me soon.
What is that?
It's
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
The high chair song.
Okay, well I'm glad they're high chairs here at least.
There was a thing when I was a kid, and it was just called baby songs, and my mom bought them, and there's like a whole bunch of DVDs of like all these crazy songs about different things for like when you're little. It's to teach kids English and like other stuff, but it's just
Did
baby
one of them
songs.
sing your name and was like, "Hello, Zachary, how do you do"? Was that one of them?
No, but it wasn't.
I had one of those.
It wasn't.
But for me, not for your name. Obviously, they were like, "Hello, Zachary." Anyway, so
Continue.
in my dream, my sister was sitting in front of me in a high chair and wouldn't stop crying. And we were in the party room of the apartment building that we used to live in, which was like the bottom floor, this big room. It had like a checkered floor, and people would hold like birthday parties. Shut up, Dayvid. People would hold birthday parties and stuff in there. And so there's like a kitchenette in there for people, like a little fridge and microwave and stuff. And so in my dream, my biological dad, who was characteristically not very nice to us and is not in our life anymore, kept like getting mad at my sister because she was crying. And so my sister would cry because I would yank her hair. But in my dream, she had this really long white hair, like down to the floor. And I would pull it and she would cry. And then my biological dad would come over and like yell and like punch the table, be like, shut the fuck up or whatever. So I did that a bunch. And then I yanked her hair too hard and her high chair like collapsed and she fell to the ground and was crying. And my biological father grabbed her, smushed her into like a little thing, and then shoved her into the starfish impression of that pool, which I had loved as a child until that dream. Whoa. And then it was just her face in the shape of a star screaming for help, and it was so scary.
This sounds like a fucking LSD trip, dude.
Was she 3D when the water was in, but like not 3D when the water was out?
No, like it was like a concave shape, so he smushed her into it so that her face was flush with the rest of the pool.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
but she was in there like screaming in a star shape, and I carried that with me for life.
So that is not the dream.
That was the scariest dream by far.
That's not the dream that you said in the 6 questions. It was a totally different.
No, I didn't use my childhood dream. Well, that one's embarrassing, so maybe not. Which one did I use?
You used because she's been attacked by a dog.
The black
dog dream,
yeah. After I was bit by my dog, like the night after, I had a dream that I was cornered by these like 2 or 3 really big black dogs that were like snapping at me and had spit flying off their teeth and stuff. But that was just, I think, because I just been mauled by a dog. So my brain was
that would make sense.
This is it.
Oh my
God.
God.
High chair.
Play it.
Hap Palmer.
By Hap. Who the fuck names their kid Hap?
I don't know, but here, listen, it's only a minute 30.
Probably Hap Senior.
Is it short for Happy? Happy Palmer?
Enjoy this.
That's Zach when he's asleep.
They had videos for it. It was like a DVD thing.
That's it?
No, it's coming. Just a second.
Oh, okay.
It's coming already.
Dude, this is a fucking...
Happy Palmer.
Holy shit. That's an actual chimp.
I was to say, dude, like this chimpanzee, it feels like this song would be just inserted into a Rob Zombie movie somewhere while somebody's just getting fucking brutally butchered.
I could see that. Yeah, he like
maybe
he
in
a
a
whole
high
bunch
chair.
of these.
It's kind of terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. I probably have
There's
nightmares about that.
What is yours, Dayvid?
Getting up time.
I have a very strange. I have 2 strange dreams that I have often. One is of a house that I go to. It's my house, but I've never seen it in my real life. I've never seen this house, but it's huge, and I know the street.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually walked around the neighborhood all around this house, and I've had dreams where I'm in it, and I walk down, like there's the front of the house. It's really high ceiling. I can walk to the back side of the house, and there's all these other rooms. Like there's no way there are all these rooms in this house, you know? Mm-hmm. I've had dreams where I had to sell the house, but I still lived in it in the back part, which was bizarre. It's
buy a house, get a fucking squatter fee.
I don't understand this thing, but I always end up going back to this house. And I have a similar dream to this where it's a city that I know intimately, but I've never been in my waking life. I don't know what the fuck this place is. But I actually dreamed about this recently, and I was going down the street, driving to this little area where It's like a large, I want to say, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. It's a big place that has little restaurants inside it and stores and all this. And I was dropping something. I was actually going to pick something up to drop it off somewhere else. So I drove my truck into the place, into a restaurant, mind you, and picked up the product or whatever and started to drive off. And I know where I'm going. I've been here before. It's so strange. I go and it's like a highway to what looks like Vegas, like a Vegas type casinos everywhere. Yeah. And I've actually walked into the casinos where you're just walking through casino to casino, just going through all these places. And I know that in another area, there's a coastal area. I can drive to that coastal area. And I did grow up on the coast in Texas. So I don't know if that's related, but I keep going to this place and I don't know why. I can't explain it.
Do you ever get the sense that it means something other than just you repetitively having the dream?
Yes, it means something. I don't know what it means. I don't understand why I keep going there.
They're like,
I always wonder if sell your house and squat in the back of it. Clearly,
I always wonder if dreams like that happen over and over again are like past life things. Like obviously the one I just told you guys about, and it's like scary dreams, like that seems more like a movie, unrealistic, right? Who knows, parallel universes. But dreams like that, like you were talking about, it almost makes you wonder do you believe in reincarnation?
Absolutely. I really do.
Yeah.
I dreamt I drowned once.
Yeah.
And it was so accurate. I can't imagine that it was anything but like a previous life, because how else would I don't know what drowning feels like, obviously.
I think all that is tied together, to be quite honest. Reincarnation.
I agree.
We've talked about energy doesn't go away. It continues on after the body, right? There's a place called the Source. I think that's a real thing. I think we go to that place and we consider what we've learned from our lives and what we need to learn to level up. I believe there's so many dimensions, right? Scientists claim there are 11 dimensions for certain. Otherwise, the universe would collapse if we didn't have these 11. Right. Other scientists say there's 17. Other scientists even say there are more. But I believe our souls, light beings, whatever you want to call it, they go to this place. They try to determine, did they learn the lessons in this life? If not, okay, let's go back, right? Every time they level up, I feel like they go to a higher dimension. And one of the things they say about the Source is that we have these soul contracts with other souls there that we're going to come back to Earth. We meet up with them and we help each other learn or whatever. And when you rise up, your color, your aura, the soul changes color basically, and it goes into a higher kind of level. So I believe that those things go high. You can go to a very high level on the dimension chain, and
well, I'm on a very high level, all right.
They say the highest one is like a god level. So you can do anything in this dimension once you reach this level.
That reminds me of, it's not a song, but it's a track on one of Logic's albums. It's called Waiting Room. Have you ever heard that before?
Mm-mm.
If you have, I think I may have made Zach listen to it. Logic, like the rapper, there's a track on one of his albums. It's called Waiting Room. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of the narrators on, I think he's the primary narrator on the track. But essentially what it is he talks about how you have to experience every life of every human being that has ever existed, essentially. So in this guy's like, he's realizing, he's like, so I was Hitler, and he's like, and all the millions he murdered. Yeah. Right, I was Jesus, and all of his disciples,
Right.
And it's really, really good. If you've never listened to it, I like it. It's pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of that. But I mean, the idea, like what you were talking about like leveling up, it sort of implies that there's an end to the leveling up, and if there is an end to the leveling up, then what's the point? And what is the last level, so to speak?
Right.
Divinity.
I don't know. Divinity? I mean, that's what the Mormons believe, right, Zach?
Yeah, that's what I was... what you just kind of explained, David, like you level up or whatever, that's very reminiscent to what the Mormons believe. They believe that there's different levels to heaven, and you have to do certain covenants and a whole bunch of other stuff to level up. And the final level is to be a god. Like, you are a god. And then it's supposed to explain like different dimensions. So once you've done enough for your god to make you a god, then you would start your own universe. So you would initiate your own Big Bang, and you'd have your own universe, and then that's another dimension in parallel to the one you just left. So, like, our god went through something similar to where he used to be a mortal being of some sort, and then he leveled up enough to become a god of us, and so we can do the same thing, and it's just infinite. That makes sense.
That's kind of how Waiting Room makes it all seem, basically. What I want to know though, David, what's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you, like in a supernatural sense?
The scariest thing that's ever happened to me happened in 2014. I was in my apartment. It was October, and there was a fire in the apartment above me, and I didn't know that was happening. And
oh shit!
I remember it was like 4-ish. I knew it was a Sunday. The next day was Monday, so I was really tired, and I was thinking about taking a nap, and I decided against it. But I think I remember a moment where I did take that nap. Okay. So I feel like those two things were playing out at the same time. Then there was someone who was knocking on my door because he saw the smoke from up, he was working on an air conditioner at some convenience store up the street. He saw the smoke. He came down. Turns out I was the only one. Me and my dog Charlie were the only ones in the building at the time.
Whoa.
And had that man not showed up, I would have died for sure from smoke inhalation. Because I could smell smoke, but I live in Texas, and it smelled like barbecue to me. I was sure it was barbecue.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was like, oh, it smells great. But had I not,
it smells great. Your house is burning down.
Didn't know. I mean, I went back afterwards. I love the smell of
drywall. Loss of my belongings.
Dude, there were holes between the apartment to mine, and just all this. It was just a mess afterwards. But I remember hearing glass break and getting up from my chair to go and see out the window, and the glass. I looked down to see because I thought it was a window up, like they had punched out because the neighbors upstairs, they would always fight. And I thought, oh, they finally did it, man. Someone swung a bat or something, hit the glass. So I went back to sit down. But I have a memory of waking up and hearing the glass break. Right? And I think what happened was at some point in that moment, I did take a nap. And the room where I sleep in is so far, it's like a super long apartment. I would have never have heard the guy knocking because I sleep with the door closed at all times. Can't sleep otherwise. And plus, I'm a heavy sleeper. I wouldn't have made it out. Pretty sure I didn't make it out. And I feel like I've been trying to understand this whole thing because I remember that I have that memory. I remember that happening. And now I have a lot of differences from me then and me now. For example, back then, before this, I had arthritis, and it was pretty bad. I mean, it was real. I mean, there was times when I couldn't even walk. To after that, I don't have it anymore. I haven't had it since that year. It's completely gone. Now I have something totally different that I didn't have before. That's called ankylosing spondylitis, which is basically vertebrae in my spine are starting to fuse. And I'm shorter than I was in 2014 because I didn't have that before. I have it now. I didn't have that before. I was 5'7.5". Now I'm like 5'5". And it's saying it's because of the vertebrae has been slowly crunching, squeezing out the discs, just killing them completely. I can't explain the difference. I don't understand what the hell is going on there. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And, dude, it's so like that's fucking weird because I had a friend when I was stationed in Montana, and he and I were pretty good friends. I mean, he was there before I was, and I was there for almost 8 years. And when I left, he was still there, and he ended up leaving eventually. But I ran into him again later down the road in my career, and like I immediately recognized him. He recognized me. I could tell something was like weird, but I at the time just totally attributed to the fact that like it's been some time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know if you've ever reconnected with an old friend. Like, I guess it sort of feels like nothing's changed. Like nothing, you haven't missed a beat. You know what I mean? But that didn't happen. I was like, whatever. I didn't really think much of it. One night we were at the same party and ended up talking to him and found out that at his next duty location, he was involved in a really bad car accident. And he felt like he had a near-death experience. He, thought he died, but he woke up in the hospital, was fine, recovered, all this stuff, and was basically telling me that like ever since then he's a totally different person. And he feels like he even had memories that he didn't have before, and he was really confused by them because he doesn't remember experiencing some of the things that he said that he knows now he experienced, but doesn't recall them. It's like a memory, but from an experience he didn't have. And dude, we had that conversation. And really we just like weren't friends anymore after that. It was really weird. It was almost like that. It was him, but not him anymore. And even I'll say this to this day, like, it's so weird you say that because like this has never come up in conversation before. And I've always just chalked it up to like, he had a near-death experience and was just changed by it. But you talking about that, like himself, a different version of him. Right. Yeah, no, exactly. Almost like a 9 lives with a cat sort of thing almost, because like the way you talk, David, like him saying that he had these memories of things that like never happened, but he knew they were there. It just like we didn't jive anymore because of the person that he was
different
now.
Person.
And I don't know. That's such a weird idea that you could have something like you said, like tag team.
I never wanted to talk about it.
Maybe at the source you can have like a backup.
I don't, I would think about it and try to theorize and come up with all sorts of how can I explain this, because it doesn't make any sense to me. And for years and it's been 10 years almost. It's been in October, it'll be 10 years. And it's taken me this long to even talk about it, because one of the things that's happening and has been happening all this time is I can smell smoke where there's no smoke. And I remember when this started happening, it was not too long after the fire. I mean, for months and months and months, the clothes I was able to get, the things that I was able to salvage had smoke on them for months and months and months, and it would drive me nuts, right? So years had gone by, and I would be hanging out in my house, and then I would smell a very strong odor of smoke, and I would run to like check to see if the oven was on, to see if there's a fire in the house, and I'm panicking.
Yeah.
And I'm asking my girlfriend, do you smell that? And she doesn't. And so I come to find that I'm still smelling the smoke, but there's no fire. It was bizarre. And then it'll happen again.
Phantom
and then it'll
smells.
happen again. And then it'll happen again. It was driving me nuts, man. It's to the point now that I smell it and it's like, oh, okay, it's that. Because there's like a tint of chemical to it, which was very similar to the fire. Towards the end, I could smell some sort of weird chemical tinge to the barbecue that was taking place. And the other night,
did you? I had a question. Did you like? Because I know you're like pretty connected with the paranormal and stuff like that. Did it increase or really pick up about the same time 10 years ago?
Dude, let me tell you, that night I had my first paranormal experience. I went to go and stay with my sister that night because I couldn't sleep. I mean, the place was destroyed. And they were going to set us up in a hotel. Like the Red Cross came by and they were like, who needs to stay? And I was like, I need a place to stay. And my sister called me up. She's like, don't go there. Come stay with me.
Come stay with me.
Sure. I went to sleep in the guest bedroom. My sister used it as a guest bedroom in a craft room or whatever. And I went to sleep with my dog in this like small bed. It was like in the middle of the room. And that's when I started hearing tapping on the wall. And I am very, like, I have never met a skeptic that was more or less like me till I met Amanda. And she's like, she needs the real proof, right? So my mind at the time was like, I'm going to prove what this is not something paranormal. So I was looking around and I could see my sister had some paper that was thumbtacked to the wall. And when the ceiling fan was going, I could see the paper was like flowing out. And at one point, it would turn and tap the edge onto the wall. And I thought, that's it. It's that. Good night. Right? Like I said, I can't sleep with the door open. It needs to be closed. So the door was locked, closed. We were asleep. I was sleeping on my right side. My dog was with me. And I awoke to someone moving my left shoulder, like shaking me. And it felt like a small hand. And my sister's 5 foot. Her name is also Amanda. I thought it was her for sure.
The popular name.
Yeah. And so I opened my eyes and I looked and there was no one there, but I could still feel this business. And I looked to see the door was closed. My sister wasn't there. And then I heard shuffling on the floor, because it was like a wood floor, from in front of me to around the bed. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And then that's when I heard a child laugh, like a little boy giggling. And dude, I freaked out. Fucking freaked out.
So I'm going to go on a limb here. Dayvid, you died in that fire. You, in this dimension,
toasted like a marshmallow,
died in that fire. And another version of you tagged in and took over this spot. So you are not from this current like world. You're from another one. You swapped somehow. That's
one of the theories for sure. Absolutely.
The other Dayvid looks like Anakin after Obi-Wan cut him up on Mustafar. He doesn't know what's going on because he wasn't in a fire. He's going, what the heck?
That is, yes. That was my first real paranormal experience the same day that happened. So yeah, that was one of...
You said you were a skeptic before and stuff, and you had a crossover, so now you're... I bet a lot of your paranormal, your connection now is because that door to wherever you came from is still open.
Could be. That could be.
No, I mean, a lot of people talk about that, having near-death experiences, and then now so close to it, that you're experiencing it.
You just have a deja vu moment, Amanda? What was that?
No, it's something touched my face. I don't know. That was like a fruit fly or something, but whatever. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, man, that's so bizarre. I can't explain it. I cannot. So I didn't want to talk about it for so long because I really could not explain it. And so, but I feel comfortable about it now. I mean, I have this thing on the back of my neck that was like a little...
Or that hickey?
Yeah, it was a hickey. It's, it looks like a third-degree burn. And it was very small. Went to go see a doctor. He didn't know what it was, so he sent me to a specialist dermatologist. They didn't know what it was, so they took some samples and basically said, inconclusive, we don't know. Here, rub this on it, see what's up. It was very small. It was about
cancerous,
about as big as this, right? Yeah, they said it wasn't. That was like, okay, great. That's a good thing, right? This thing has grown. It has grown. Right. It was on the right side of my neck, on the back, and it has spread to the other side of my neck. It's huge.
That's the burn passing through. You're still burning.
No, for sure, dude.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it sounds like, man.
Yeah. They did ask me. That was the first thing they asked me. Were you in a fire? I was like, yeah, I was, but I didn't get burned unless I did die in bed, right? And the fire came through and decided it was going to burn the ship. Now it feels like it's spreading, and I'm wondering what's going to happen once
it gets... Does it ever burn?
Now it itches like a mother.
If all time, like you're saying earlier, like everything's happened at once, or like it's not happening, like whatever, everything's happening at the exact same time, the fire is still happening to your other self that you swapped with, and they're burning right now, and it's passing through.
That's why I smell the smoke. Maybe that's why. That's the only thing I can explain.
It's still happening. Like you're on fire right now.
Are you incepted right now? Is this all a dream?
Zach is giving fucking Dayvid just massive anxiety, dude.
Dude, I thought about all this. Now, you know what my theory is on this? I think I have a percentage of that dead whatever with me. That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
Because it's not fully
it's the other person's body. But your mind, and it's like somehow got jumbled up. I think
I'm gonna rot away and just be
your body's on fire in the other dimension, and that guy's going.
Dude, what if you just like randomly spontaneously combust now?
What if that's what that is?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Combustion is the fire of a death in a previous dimension catches up.
Amanda will have one hell of a show if that happens.
I'll make the best episode out of it, I promise.
And now for your viewing pleasure, Dayvid, spontaneously combusting.
Live on Discord. Let's watch this together, guys. Scene by scene, frame by frame. This is where David's head explodes.
What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you, Amanda?
Oh, gosh, there's so many to draw from. Like paranormal or in general?
No. Yeah, like paranormal.
This is
I would probably
Dayvid
have
right
to
now.
Say...
Is that Dayvid feels right now?
That is Dayvid.
This is fine.
That's awesome.
This is fine. Everything's cool.
As everything's on fire.
With the hat, too.
He's living a whole new life.
Exactly, with the hat. This is fine. I don't know why I smell smoke, but this is fine.
I guess the scariest paranormal thing would be I did see a shadow figure. And that really, like, it was scary kind of, but only what made it scarier was that my grandmother acknowledged it and my sister, like, we all saw it. So that really made it scary because otherwise, like, I can talk myself out of thinking it. I can be like, oh, I didn't really see that, you know.
Logic comes into play.
Other family, when your other family members acknowledge it, it makes it really real. And so that, not so much even scary in that moment, but like definitely gives me the creeps.
What was the situation? Were you guys just like sitting watching TV, or like did something happen? Did you wake up? You just noticed it across the room?
No, we were watching TV. My grandparents' house was extremely haunted to the point where like every single family member I have has experiences. I was actually just talking to my sister about this last night because she talks to my cousin who also remembers his own experiences. So like that's kind of cool. But basically the way that the house is like there's a little TV room and then like a long hallway. Dayvid, don't.
I thought about it.
Don't. And then if you're in the TV room and you're looking out the door, you can see the door to the bathroom. So it's like across the hall.
Okay, guys. Sorry about technical difficulties again, but Amanda's computer is halfway retarded. And but you were talking about you saw this shadow figure walk by the door.
I'm flustered now because my computer was insulted in such a manner.
It's not even your computer.
Yeah. A shadow walked down the hallway and I noticed it and I didn't even really have a chance to process what I saw because my grandmother immediately said Joe, which is my grandfather's name. So that's when I was like, oh shit, she saw that. And he heard her and was in the bathroom like 10 feet away through a closed door, and through the closed door was like, yeah. So we're like, wasn't him. There's nobody else in the house. And we all saw it. My grandmother lived there. She did not like us to bring it up. My sister and I would like joke about it because we were young and didn't really understand like the scary part of it, you know? But anytime we brought up the ghost, she got really defensive. Like it was really taboo to talk about. And like my grandmother, who is like, she does not bullshit for anything. And she had experiences in that house. My grandmother, my mom, my sister, me, my cousins, like everyone who was in that house had something, like walked away with some kind of experience. But seeing that shadow, it was the only time I ever saw it. But knowing what it was now or like what it couldn't have been scares the daylights out of me.
Talk about that ring that you had, that your grandmother had.
You should talk about it, say hi.
Oh yeah, her wedding ring. Yeah, that was like the biggest story that in my family really that we have because it was like the most relevant. But my grandmother and my grandfather were married for like 50 something years.
Mm-hmm.
She never took her ring off ever. It was very much, glued to her finger. And one morning she woke up and it just wasn't on her hand. And she looked like they tore the bed apart. They tore the room apart. They didn't have any pets or anything at that time. And they could not find it anywhere. So after a few weeks, like they kind of thought it would turn up. So they didn't really do anything immediately about it.
Yeah.
But a few weeks later, like they had not found it. And it's just them living in the house. They have grandkids, but like we're not going to steal a wedding ring. So they ended up replacing it. So they go out and are looking for like new rings or whatever. And they replace it. And months go by, like probably 6 months go by. And a lot of the activity that happened in that house was in the basement. And to get to the basement, that same hallway that figure like walked down as if he was walking away from the basement that night, that the basement was the door before the bathroom on the same side of the wall. And so you would take that to the living room or you would turn down the stairs and there was like a door to go outside and then more stairs to go to the basement. And vacuuming one day randomly 6 months later and the ring is perfectly in the middle at the top of the stairs to the basement.
Wow.
Dude,
which
what
is
the
just
fuck,
weird,
man?
high traffic area,
trippy.
Very bizarre.
That is.
And so they didn't like that very much, but stuff all the time went missing. Like they smoked, my grandmother smoked a lot and like cigarettes would go missing constantly. And we were always getting accused of like taking cigarettes and stuff. We had a dimmer switch in the spare room. Watching you. And if we all night long, the light would go super, super dark, super, super light, and it just all night long. But any other time it wouldn't. So just weird shit like that would happen.
That is weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah. I actually have a photo where there's like right where that door is, where all the like dimmer switch shit happened, in the direction that the shadow figure was heading down that hallway. There's 2 glowing eyes at the bottom, and I don't know what the fuck it is because they didn't have any pets. But I have it on like a photo, like a Polaroid photograph.
It does look. I've seen it. It looks like a 2 red eyes that are cat or dog height in the corner.
But it's weird. Like you can see there's like no color behind it, so there's nothing. I don't know. It's weird.
But I'll tell you another story. When I was stationed in Montana, I was working one night in the weapons storage area. This is just where the ICBMs are worked on there. And my buddy and I were parked in what we call the conventional storage area. And just think of like, it almost looks like if you've ever been like public storage, you know what I mean? With all the like the rows and rows and rows of like garage doors. That's basically what it looked like. And we're in a Humvee and we're parked next to it. And we were playing cards. And I had like the radio like propped up in the windshield and like had the visor pulled down to like hold it up against the window. So I could hear it and all this stuff. And we're just sitting there and it felt like somebody was on top of the conventional storage unit and jumped on top of the Humvee, like boom, the whole Humvee moved, right?
Shit.
And it literally sounded like somebody jumped. And so and our initial thought was somebody was fucking with us, because we used to like climb up on top of the conventional storage and we would bring like camping chairs and watch the sun go down, just being fucking,
nice.
I don't know, romantic, I guess. And so we both jumped out of the Humvee real quick and, looked on top of the Humvee and no one was there.
Holy
and like
shit.
Really, there was not the opportunity for anybody to jump and then like maybe what would have been like a 5-foot drop, climb back up onto the storage unit and run across the top of it and then drop down onto their Humvee and go back. And so we both stood there and like I looked down like the long like alley that these things were in and like no one was running, didn't hear anybody running, and he ran around the end of the storage unit and there wasn't another Humvee because like one thing we used to do to sneak up on each other is we'd drive in the Humvee and then kill the engine and then like roll it to a stop. And you could go pretty far like that, you know what I mean? And just the engine isn't on. And so we just like stealth mode. And we're just like, fuck that. And drove away to the other side of the WSA, web storage area. And right in the middle of the WSA is this old like Vietnam era control tower. It's actually where like the actual like RTO would sit and like transmit. and it's not used anymore. It's condemned. You're not supposed to walk up there, but there's like this big electrical box that's up underneath it with, controlled, like you used to control like all the lighting in there and everything like that. And we're just sitting there like, dude, that was really fucking weird, but okay, we're gonna like carry on with our lives and pretend like that didn't happen, because that place it's definitely haunted. And I could tell you probably like 10 other fucking stories that happened. And there's 20 people that experience this all at once. Okay. And some of it's like on camera, or like you get an alarm in correspondence with something weird happening. Right. So we watch this like blinking thing move really, really fast across the WSA, all this grass and gravel, and go up underneath this old tower. This bright light, like somebody like turns on a flashlight and then it goes out, happens. And then we're like, what the fuck? Did you see that? He's like, yeah, I saw that. And we drove over there, and the control panel to the electrical box was just open. And it's never open. Like there's actually like a lock on it. And it's just open, and like this big old metal door is like swinging in the wind. And it was really, really weird. But some people had experiences like that all the time. I have no idea why. Not to my knowledge, like no one ever died down there. It's not like the side of a battlefield. I mean, I guess it could have been like a Native American battlefield, but it's just on the U.S. military Malmstrom Air Force Base installation. You know what I mean? So, but people would have all kinds of really, really weird experiences there. And the missile, like the MAFs, missile alert facilities, they definitely had some really weird shit happen to them out there. But a lot of it was, I think, like Native American related, because these are sites that are like out in the middle of the mountains of the prairie in Montana. So like, but anyway, yeah.
Let me ask you, when the flashlight, you said there was a flashlight, you could see a flashlight on it?
No, it was like somebody had a flashlight. You ever had a flashlight and you put your hand over it and you just went like that?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looked like for that, like maybe even that quick. Yeah.
Whoa.
And the slower than that, like you let it out and then you close it. Maybe like you're trying to like signal. Yeah.
Damn.
But it was enough.
Your light is bright.
And it wasn't like pointing at us. It was just like a light that was, up underneath before the staircase, before you walked up around the top of the thing.
And so you couldn't really see anything, right? No real shape, no real, wow.
No, and this entire, it's nighttime. But there's all this orange light, you know what I mean? You can see relatively well, you know what I mean? And then there's all this like bright white light that like shines outward, and that's not facing at you, right? So you can see like avenues of approach, right? But so it's lit enough, and you can kill all the light, but it wasn't for any reason, like at that time, you know what I mean? So
when it jumped on the Humvee, could you tell, like from the sound, could you tell like what kind of weight it had to it? Was it super heavy?
It was like a person. Yes. Okay. Like it literally sounded like, yeah, somebody had felt like, and like I said, like the Humvee itself dropped, you know what I mean? Like somebody had legitimately jumped, boom, and landed with both feet on top of us. And then that was it. It was just like, boom, like that. Like, what the fuck, you know? And the turret hatch was closed, so like we couldn't see anything. And so we both just like opened the doors and like got out. I mean, this is like boom, maybe like 3 seconds and get out. Like I said, it was like a good 5-foot drop, probably from the roof of the Humvee, the roof of the conventional storage unit. So like, even if somebody, we would have like witnessed at least some ass and feet going over the top of the wall.
Feet.
You know what I mean? And would have heard, some scuffling on the roof across to the other side. It's a good like 15, 20 feet at least, So
and that's why you thought someone was fucking with you, is because it sounded like a person landing on the thing, right?
Yeah, and like clearly, I think part of this,
I would have thought.
Part of this, like totally expected, like them to like lift up the top of the turret into the Humvee and be like, "What's up, faggots?" or something stupid. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the behavior. Yeah, what's up? Bitch tits. Exactly. Yeah, snipe. Something. Just being stupid.
What's up, koalas?
But yeah, exactly. What's up, my marsupials?
You guys want to see my feet?
Yeah. But no, really, really weird. No idea.
Dude, that is fucking muted, crazy.
Amanda. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, dude, I think it's a good place to wrap up. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
it's a good time. Yeah.
Before she goes
out again.
For Catamaran Dingo.
Dude, I really like talking to you guys, and you guys should come back, and we'll come back. You guys season 3 is starting soon, right?
Not till next year.
Yeah.
Are you guys done making episodes for the year?
No. Our season starts in the new year, so we're still in season 2, but we are releasing our third segment of our One Something, which is our We Speak with Animals Attack Survivors. And so we're releasing our third installment of that, which is kind of like a big deal for us. But no, we're still in our second season.
Got you. We should definitely have us on again at some point this year.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. Well, tell everybody where they can find you real quick, and then we'll wrap up.
You can find me in David's basement, breathing heavily late at night.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Jeez.
Rubbing his feet.
He's like, I fart bare ass on
With
his
a knife in my
pillowcase
hand.
all the time.
Yeah, that's why he has pink eye every
You
day.
usually do, yes.
Oopsie. There's my secret.
That's why I got that weird rash on my back.
I got a heinous anus, and I'll tell you. Anyway. Yeah, but you can find me anywhere, anywhere that you find podcasts, really. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that. Or just Google One Nothing Podcast, and we'll show up because we're the only one with our name.
It's true. WON Nothing.
Results will happen.
Results will happen. Hell yeah.
And then leave us like a review, because that really helps. So if you have nice words, let us hear them.
Reviews do help, and I'm just going to reiterate this again. If you listen to us, or you listen to One Nothing, or you listen to anybody else, and you don't hit the subscribe button, please do it. It helps. It doesn't take a lot of effort for us and you guys. It doesn't cost any money. Just hit the button, leave us a nice comment, tell somebody about us, share a reel, whatever. We appreciate it. So
yeah. And Apple Podcast specifically has this really cool feature where if you click 5 stars, it'll make like a seductive moaning sound. You should just try it.
Are you serious?
I'm gonna have to try that out. That sounds awesome.
Apple Podcast really does that, or is that a joke?
Yeah. No, it really does that. It's like seductively moans when you press 5 stars.
Because like that. That's
more seductive, but yeah.
That's really weird. I'm kind of surprised that it does that.
It's unique. Yeah, you should try it, especially on I Came with Fire and One Nothing podcast.
Oh yeah.
Well,
specifically.
You should try it. Yeah, and I'll tell you this, if you guys if somebody leaves us a 5-star review and like writes out a review, I will personally send you an audio track of Zach making moaning noises just as a reward. So
signing up for 11 accounts as we speak.
Yes. Yeah.
11
accounts. It'll be the best thing you've ever heard. Ever,
so worth
other
it.
than this podcast.
So worth it.
It is. Yeah. It is worth it.
And then you can lay awake frozen at night while Ghost Sticks
Stroganoff.
Utilize that soundtrack.
Zachary Stroganoff. So
He's stroking off or Stroganoff?
Well, Stroganoff is
I
the
genuinely
currency
couldn't catch which.
to be stroking off the ghost. And with that,
I thought you said
we are signing off.
He did say
everyone.
Night.
Guten Nacht.
Stay alive.
Tschüss.